Okay, we're gonna get started.
Okay.
It's probably gonna be a short meeting because we're gonna have a very short legislative update. Lori couldn't make it and Rob couldn't make it at the last minute. But Deborah's here, so she's gonna talk a bit, and Victoria Doyle is here. And Shirley Johnson is supposed to be here, but the first thing we have to do, it's the annual meeting with the elections. So June is going to just announce the candidates, and we'll get that formality over with.
Thank you so much. The nominating committee is pleased.
Wait, actually, why don't you come up here and sit here, because there are people on Zoom. Actually, I don't think any of them are club members and probably don't care about this, but what? Oh.
Bring your blankets over. This means I get a raise.
Water?
Thank you.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can sit in my seat there.
I'll sit in, what seat?
Just turn this. Okay.
Okay.
Joe, are you really here? Is this yours?
No,
That's mine. Okay.
thank you.
Money.
Thank you so much. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah. The nominating committee is pleased to nominate the following people to serve as officers: Michael Cantwell as president, Charlene as vice president, David Kulik as treasurer, Mary Fader as secretary, and Steve Fratkin as parliamentarian, and pleased to add 3 new people as directors: Jennifer Jones, Brian Begain, and Dr. Mark LaFalaise, and also to consider the current directors, Catherine Kearney, myself, and Marty Rock, and John Ramos, Director Emeritus.
So we call for there are nominations from the floor if anyone wants to nominate themselves or anyone else, and if anyone wants to be on the board, we can always use them. I was very glad that I asked Brian last time. Bill's too busy here, so
So any nominations?
No. I'm not.
Okay,
okay.
then all in favor?
I did want to, okay,
No, go ahead.
go. I was gonna electioneer and say how happy we are to have Steve, who has volunteered to do parliamentarian after Bob moved upstate.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, up country. And has invited us all for a barbecue. No, it was Maine or something, right?
Oh, wow, me.
No, he's in New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
Oh, no.
Okay, thank you, that's all.
Bob is in Maine.
Hey,
He's not doing New Hampshire. Bob, you talking about Bob?
Yeah,
Yeah, he's in Maine.
he's living in New Hampshire.
He's in Maine.
Yeah.
Well,
from
unless he
Maine.
just moved. No, he's in New Hampshire.
in any event, let's vote.
Okay. All in favor?
Uh,
Opposed? Okay, congratulations, everybody.
All right.
Should I go back? now?
Yeah. So I don't know. Victoria, did you want to just give a little spiel, and you'll come back in April or May, whenever it is, with your full thing? Yeah.
Want me to sit up here?
Yeah,
for the
why
camera?
not? Sure.
And the microphone.
And
Yeah.
microphone.
Yeah, and I'll turn this. So do you have the camera pointed this way? But she can go.
Right here.
Yeah. Think they want to see you all the time?
Forgive me
Well, that's
that I
what you
have
had
to
them
wear my
do 2
readers.
meetings ago during candidates night.
Now
Yeah.
where, see, now my back is showing. Where's the camera? Oh,
Here.
here. Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Good evening, Delray Democrats. My name is Victoria Doyle. I'm running for Congress in this district, which is FL 22. For now, because in April, we may be gerrymandered into some other place, but that is a wait and see. So I'm going to address the elephant in the room, which is that, yes, I am primarying Lois Frankel, our long-term Congresswoman, Mayor of West Palm, and before that, State House member for 14 years. And I want to tell you why directly, as opposed to have people unsure why. I grew up believing that the people we send to Washington work for us, not for the big businesses and PACs who write the biggest checks, but for all of us. Like for Arlene, this is a woman I met in Pleasant City doing voter registration. She works as a manager full-time at Walmart and qualifies for SNAP benefits to feed her family. Also for young families priced out of the neighborhoods they grew up in because housing has gotten so expensive. And of course, for retirees and seniors watching their prescription drugs get more and more expensive. Unfortunately, as you all know, I'm sure, money has taken over our politics, and therefore money is making the decisions in DC. So what do Walmart, Blackstone Private Equity, Florida Crystals, APAC, and the Orthopedic Surgeons PAC all have in common? They fund Lois Frankel's campaigns, and many members of Congress, of course, not just her. So nothing changes, not our broken healthcare system, not the cost of housing, not unfair wages or income inequality, not a tax system that grossly benefits the super rich with loopholes. I know from spending every day in the district that people here desperately want change. They want structural economic change. And you all didn't organize and vote in every election so that billionaires could sweep in and buy the outcomes. You did it because you believed we could have a better country, and so do I. I will never take a dollar from a corporation, PAC, or billionaire, because I will be working for you. And when Congress is full of people like me, beholden to nobody but our constituents, we will have universal health care, affordable housing, and wages people can live on. Thank you very much. You liked it. Oh, my flashlight's on. Feel free to ask a question because apparently we have some time, which is delightful.
My only concern,
Yes.
I mean, I can tell you, as I did tell you today, my politics align perfectly with yours. You know, everyone is going to be concerned, and we've seen it happen, that we have a bruising primary and then the Republicans win. 2020, they had the slogan, I still have the caps, vote blue no matter who. And that really worked.
Yeah.
That worked in 2020. I mean, we ended up with Joe Biden, who was probably at the bottom of all
Yeah.
of our choices, and,
Yeah.
and ended up being, in my lifetime, one of the greatest presidents. And 2022, though, we flipped it. You know, Andrew Gillum surprisingly won the primary, and oh no, that was 2018. Sorry,
Yeah.
2022, it was Charlie Crist, and I had a committee man up in Jacksonville say that if Crist is the nominee, he's going to stay home and he's going to tell everyone he knows not to vote.
Mm-hmm.
And 1.5 million, 2.5 million Democrats didn't vote. And then 2024, same thing. So I should say, you probably all seen Victoria's op-ed in the Palm Beach Post. And someone sent it to me to put in the Delray Democrat. And I said, sure. But what I want to do is have Lois put something.
Absolutely.
In her office. And I want both of them, you know, to say that whoever wins, they're going to support, you know,
Definitely.
and that's what we have to do. I mean, and I think that if we do that, this is a good thing, you know, because it might move Lois to the left, you know, if she wins, or she might not win, and then if Lois gets behind Victoria, we have, you know, what we don't want is when we're trying to win back the House, lose a seat.
Right.
So, you know.
And can I say something about that? I've been studying the registration records of Palm Beach County, and as many of you probably know, in 2010, we had a 35% advantage, registered Democrats. That's down to about 4%. Yeah. So I actually, yes, I believe primaries are healthy and I'm very pro-democracy and I want everybody to step up and defend their seat or fight for their seat or argue, persuade voters. But my fear is because Lois has been in so long and because there is a bit of a backlash to older people in Congress, the gerontocracy that now David Hogg is broadcasting and others. Now, I'm no 20-something that Hogg's going to back, but age amongst the Democrats is a topic now. And because she is a compromised politician due to millions of dollars coming in from these various sources, my fear is she could lose because she's not generating excitement. And so we are so close to flipping red. I consider her a somewhat uninspiring candidate, somebody who's been able to coast to re-election 7 times because people don't vote in the primaries. And then the disenfranchised, the NPAs and the Republicans, they can only vote in theirs. But really the NPAs, which is now a third of our district, get to the November election and say, I never have a choice. It's always the same people. Well, you need to become a Democrat, vote in the primary, switch back to NPA if you feel strongly about being independent or unaffiliated. But raising the number of people who vote in the primary would be wonderful. And I hope this race can do that. Even if I lose, we would engage more people. I hope that Representative Frankel will debate me, step up and defend her. What I see is playing both sides all the time. Oh, I'm for universal health care. In 2018, I put that on my website. Oh, but I took it down and I never mentioned it for the last 8 years. And I left the Progressive Caucus over Israel. And the Progressive Caucus is the entity in Congress fighting for universal health care. So there are so many questions I have for her, and I would love for her to tell us candidly. No politician will admit to being bought. They will not. They don't do that. But I think we've seen enough since Citizens United that we cannot make change in this country anymore. Nothing big is passing anymore. I'd say the infrastructure bill is the closest we got. And of course, Trump comes in and decimates it. And all our clean energy initiatives are decimated. We're at war for oil again, or whatever we're at war for. Can't figure it out. So I fear that if she wins the primary, we could flip red. And for that reason, I'm working even harder to try and engage voters, to try to get NPAs to register as Dems for 5 minutes to vote that day. And really offer a choice, which we haven't had for a very long time in this district. Thank you.
Dave?
There's a question.
Oh, yes, sir.
Too. I have one too.
Great.
Carter Hawkins, what are Victoria's qualifications and experience?
Thank you. Well, I have never run for office, but I am a lawyer and I practiced for 30 years in federal courts practicing federal law. So I always tell people my comfort zone is federal law. I'm an intellectual property lawyer, trademark, copyright, patent. Are you?
Yeah.
And that's 100% federal. And I am a mother and I've lived in Lake Worth for almost 11 years. That is my place of choice because I love diversity in Lake Worth and art. And Lake Worth is a funky, diverse little city, if you don't know it.
So is Delray.
So is Delray,
Yeah.
indeed. And so I am an activist. So I have protested and marched countless times and gotten a lot of press, not on purpose, but because I'm often the only person to show up on Southern Bridge with a big flag or sign facing 45 MAGA, calling me every name in the book. And the press wants to interview both sides. And so I've had some very fun and funny moments on that bridge being interviewed by people. So I'm quite fearless when it comes to protesting. I'm very upset by this Trump agenda, Trump administration, billionaires absolutely running the country. And I guess I would describe myself as a very high energy activist who's ready to try to get into a position of power, given my legal background, my passion, my activism, and my following the news to a disgusting degree.
Dave?
Yes.
I have my own question. it's great not to take money from PACs and billionaires. Unfortunately, because of Citizens United, it makes it extremely difficult to run against people who are taking money that way.
Yes.
Assuming you win the primary, how are you going to, fight against an onslaught of Republican cash that's going to come flowing in?
Ideas, merits, and positivity. I mean, as it is, Lois Frankel's getting millions. I probably raise 50,000 to her every million. So, this is a scrappy,
It's also also a ground game, and
huge ground game
enthusiasm. I mean,
and
look at
knocking on doors.
Mondami.
Yeah.
Who thought Mondami was going to win?
Look at AOC. She built an even more,
Yeah.
she beat an even more senior Democrat.
She is a hero.
Yes, and she remains to this day unwilling to take big money.
Yeah.
And that is so impressive because too many people get up there and are like, oh, it would be so much easier if this progressive group just slipped me 100,000. But I'm not going to be one of those people who says, okay, that PAC I'll take from, but not those PACs. No PACs. It's equal opportunity rejection in my campaign. So because we need to overturn Citizens United, and the only way to do that at this point is a constitutional amendment. And people roll their eyes and say, ridiculous, that'll never happen. Well, we used to amend the Constitution quite regularly. Yes, it's challenging, but if the will is there, and for once we prioritize these things as opposed to backburnering them because we're so distracted by war and Epstein, maybe we can get it done. Let's power that through. And no, corporations are not people with rights, and free speech is not $1 million from Musk. 250 million.
There was a question. What's your website?
Oh, thank you. It's doyleforcongress.org. .com was taken. There's another me out there somewhere in the universe. Yes, sir.
Did you say you have no legislative experience whatsoever? Am I correct?
No, I did work on the Hill for 1 year for a select committee on children, youth, and families, organizing hearings and working with Congress people.
You're confident in your ability to negotiate?
Definitely. Because you know what? Everybody who arrives in Congress, everybody's new once.
Yeah.
Goes to Congress school.
Some of them come out of legislative experience.
True. Like Deborah would. That is true, but no, I'm not nervous about it. We get to go to school. Many newcomers come without elected office, AOC, among others.
And you have staffers. I mean, if
You have staffers.
the right people. I mean, AOC is brilliant, but she doesn't do it. I mean, her grilling of Mickey Cohen, where she had 5 minutes, and all the Democrats and all the Republicans and the Democrats too were grandstanding and going over their time.
Yes.
And she ended up by saying, "I yield the rest of my time," and it was 4 minutes and 30 seconds that they spoke, and one thing after another.
Yeah.
And she didn't do all of that herself, as great as she is. I mean, she had a staff, and that's what you need.
And I already have a foreign policy advisor. I have somebody who understands the legislative process better than I, helping me. So I've already got advisors and consultants helping me to understand things. I'm not an Iran expert, but I obviously want to know as much as possible. Cuba, that's in the news right now. So my brother-in-law is a newspaper reporter, author for his entire career with a specialty on the CIA, and knows more about foreign affairs and the history of the CIA and FBI. Actually, he wrote a book on that too.
Where is it that you did when you were on the Hill?
I was a paid intern, I guess one would call it. I was in college. I took a year off to work in DC and got a job in a select committee. I don't know if you know what that is, but it doesn't have legislative power, but it has hearing power.
Mhm.
So we held hearings on the
Part of the whole process.
It is. And we held very powerful hearings on crack cocaine and its effect on families, on the family farm going down and big ag taking over our food industry. There was another, and I'm blanking right now. Anyway, I spent a year on the telephone finding the best witnesses I could, talking to the staffer, the paid professional staffers, and working with the congressmen and women on that committee, both sides. I remember the Republican minority leader, because the Dems had Congress then, Dan Coates from Indiana.
Yeah.
And he had a bumper sticker on his desk. Now, I was in my 20s and I wasn't familiar with right, left, whatever, just wide-eyed and learning. And it said, big families, strong military. And I thought, people have children to send them to the army? Like, I mean, I was sort of stunned by that. I still am. It's really not the goal of my children to go to war, you know, personally, but that was his position, and he's a real hawk, that one.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot that year. And one of the things I learned is how little substance the congressperson often does, and that it's all the worker bees in the background preparing briefs and speeches and writing legislation, and the congressperson is the face out there meeting the cameras. But
It's said on a number of occasions, we've been a warlike creature since cavemen. The only thing that has changed is our clubs are better.
oh dear, it's human nature, you think?
Yeah, but
Ryan.
Victoria, have you challenged Lois, and what has been the response?
Meaning, have I seen her in person?
Debate, I mean.
Oh, no, no, I haven't called for that yet, but I know there are groups in the county who plan to hold forums and maybe even a debate. I have encountered her, and to be very candid, she's been very not nice, not civil, not polite, and called me a liar and said, well, anyway, I won't tell you, but anyway, not nice. And I'm disappointed in that, because civility, what's wrong? I mean, come on now, we can be civil.
I know for a fact that, Lois last year, she, I believe it was in June of 2025, she voted to, I think to thank ICE.
She did.
And, my question is, has anybody ever questioned her that and why she did that?
You know, sadly, Peter, she doesn't take a lot of questions. She's very good at dodging and moving on or moving out or deflecting. So I wish someone would ask her. We asked her staffer, and she said that resolution that you're talking about came up after that horrific Denver firebombing by a terrorist of peaceful senior citizen Jews holding a peaceful rally calling for peace in Gaza and a ceasefire. And that lunatic firebombed them somehow and lit people on fire. I mean, it was horrific. And 2 resolutions were introduced soon thereafter. One said, we condemn anti-Semitism and we express gratitude to ICE for protecting the homeland. And it was a MAGA play.
Yeah.
You know, because like
Anti-Semitism is a MAGA.
linking it. Well, I disagree. I think it's fine to condemn anti-Semitism in a resolution.
But
The ICE piece was a MAGA play, and it was a gotcha. And then there was a second resolution from a New Jersey Republican that said, we condemn anti-Semitism, and spelled out all the incidents that had happened that year. So Lois voted for yes, on both. And she was in the minority on the first one, because most Democrats, I think 80 voted yes and 130 voted no, were like, oh no, I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be hoodwinked this way. You know, of course I condemn anti-Semitism, but I'm not going to do this. Well, Lois couldn't vote no, was the answer her staffer said. And it was a combination of her being Jewish, which I reject because many, many Jewish members of Congress voted no on that one. And AIPAC. Yeah. AIPAC does not want you voting no on anything that mentions anti-Semitism. And that is her biggest funder by far. So she's in a tough position. If she's going to take that much money from them, she kind of has to do what they want, in my opinion. So anyway, she's very defensive about that, cornered me, said people are going to think you're anti-Semitic, you need to watch out. You know, it was very disappointing because I think we all know and agree that one can criticize the politics of a country without criticizing the people. And that would 100% be me. I love my country. I hate Donald Trump. Am I anti-American, anti-white Christian, anti-this, anti-that? Of course not.
So has your politics on Israel changed? Because when we spoke, you said you were supportive of Israel.
I am supportive of Israel. I'm not supportive of Netanyahu, and I think he's done
the war criminal.
He's done terrible things, and really the tragedy to me of Netanyahu is he has hurt Israel's
Absolutely.
reputation and esteem worldwide.
Yeah.
And the fact that people are blaming Jews is awful
Yeah.
and pathetic and stupid. And it happens here with Muslims, with Black people. You know, the only group we don't group blame are white men. When the school shooters are white men, we're not like, oh, all white men are violent, horrible lunatics. But every other group that happens to be a minority, there's a group blame mentality, and it's awful and it's beneath us. We're all minorities of some kind. So no, my opinion has not changed. I very much support Israel and I want to go to Israel, but I don't want to go when he's in power. And I don't support him at all. And I don't support Trump at all. And I put them on the same plane, i.e. corrupt criminals avoiding prison. And it's really just been so harmful to Israel. Started with that justice bill. And the protests were magnificent. I mean, Israelis are so much better than Americans in terms of getting in the street and protesting their government. And I admire them to no end for that. And I wish they could make a dent in this man's power hold. It's very depressing.
Wanted to ask why no one, when Trump is asked or anybody in power is asked, why do you think we're at war? I think it's fairly obvious. 2 criminals are running from justice.
Right.
I'm sure that's part of it. I don't know the answer, but nobody says that.
Think about that.
No. Anything to deflect, delay, deny, distract. I mean, I'm on the New York Times app every day, and somebody's already noted this. But of course, for 6 weeks, Epstein was in the top half of the page. And that's been off the page now for 3.5 weeks. And it's Iran, 7 articles until you get to something else.
If I may, Iran, in their chants every day says death to America. We do have a threat with Iran that we can't forget is actually real. After our June attacks, their ability to the ballistic missile collection of about 8,000 they would have had by now, which would have gone as far as Europe. But they have been, they're a huge threat. We dismantled a lot of their position with their ability to manufacture these weapons. And just recently, they have come back to the same amount of strength of being able to manufacture the same amount of ballistic missiles, which is 100 a month, in order to gain a stockpile to attack a major attack, which everyone knows that they funded $1 billion in the past year to Hezbollah. Hundreds of millions of dollars to Hamas over the past year, just the past year. And we have multiple proxies from Iran. The goal of this is ultimately to stop the funding to these proxies and then actually expand the Abraham Accord. The goal is the truth is that when they chant death to Israel, they're also saying death to America. The goal is to stop the funding of terrorism across the Middle East so we can actually have peace. And if we can stop the bleeding, then we can actually expand the Abraham Accords. People forget that before the regime was in power, they supported Jewish people. Iran supported Jews. And so there's a bigger picture behind that. And you know, it's very, you have to have a look from like a hindsight, because the same people who want me dead because I'm Jewish, it doesn't matter if I'm in Israel. It's happening here in the United States too.
Yeah, I have to. I mean, we should
is gonna
probably
be a
continue, or
digression.
David's going to say something, but I have to tell you that Trump's own the CIA analysis. I mean, if you read the New York Times, everything that he has said, every reason he's given, I put a Delray Democrat news quiz on, you know, the reasons why we invaded Iran. And there are like 5 reasons that the administration gave, and they're all bullshit, you know, and to say that it is an imminent threat to us is denied by the analysis of our government. They say it's not an imminent threat. It's like they're gonna they don't have the capacity to do that. And if you attack another country that is not an imminent threat to you, that's a war crime. Okay, so I mean that's where I come out.
The other thing for me is I'm sure we can come up with reasons to topple a lot of bad people. Iran was terrible. I mean, we kind of set that up ourselves from the 50s forward.
Yeah.
So I hate not including the history of toppling a democratically elected Iranian leader because he wanted to nationalize the oil. And we said, oh no, we are going to control the oil. I mean, we are not a good player historically in many, many places. And that's just going to keep going and keep going like it is today. Now we're just like, oh, let's take Venezuela. Let's take Iran. Let's take Cuba. I mean, that's not our role in the world. And Americans desperately need money directed to them. So
Agree on that.
I can come up with arguments on both sides of Iran, but it does not change the fact that we are on our knees as a people in terms of affordability and wellness of life. It is unacceptable. We're the richest country in the world. So to see that they're asking for 200 billion more for this war is so offensive to me. When it is not a defensive war, it's a war of choice. I'm sure there are good arguments, but I cannot support it until we take care of our own people. So that's my stance. No wars of choice until our people have healthcare, food, housing, wellness, not working 90 hours a week for a non-living wage to be on SNAP.
David?
To me, I think. As somebody who collected pennies, the plan to train is
Netanyahu.
to see what is happening makes me sick.
Yeah.
The very concept that there is a word settler that is a terrorist. A settler is a terrorist who chases people off their land through terror.
Jordan
Takes
chased the Jews off of the land before Israel was even a state.
This is
So,
what's happening.
If you want to actually go back in history, the Jordanians, and they were actually settlers in that land.
Yeah,
Well, I
go
think
back
you
to
have-
the 1880s.
J Street, J Street, the
Yeah.
Democratic pro-Israel lobby, as opposed to AIPAC, which is funded by right-wing billionaires. JPAC agrees with you. They just sent a letter saying the absolute tragedy of Netanyahu is how much he has fomented.
Yeah.
And it's fucking depressing. Like, that's the guy we should depose.
Those people were there responsible for their own oppression, and I can't stand for that.
Well,
But we're responsible.
if you go back to the Ottoman census of 1880, I mean,
No, it's deep.
it was 5% of the population was Jewish. Then you had the Balfour Declaration. Then you had the partition plan, which gave 2/3 of the land to the Jewish settlers, and 1/3 or 60% of the Negev desert was part of it. So it doesn't really count. But I'm not surprised that the Arabs rejected that. I mean, and international law. International law.
Oh, more thing that has nothing to do with this. And it goes back to Citizens United. To me, this is the one issue that left and right actually agree on.
Yes, that's why. Yes, yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
I believe mostly opposed to Citizens United.
Yeah.
I think
And I think we have common right.
Yeah.
against this one.
Yeah.
Running over on democracy.
And we have to push.
It's not destroying it,
Need to
it's
push that.
destroying it. We are not,
Right.
there's a statistic that says if 100% of America is in favor of a bill, there's a 30% chance it will happen. 30% of America is opposed to a bill, there's a 30% chance it won't pass. Has nothing to do with us anymore.
Yeah.
That's the
bring it back
tragedy.
to somebody brought up grounding here.
I do.
It could not be more important. As a party, I think that what we are all seeing locally and across the country is that grassroots is a viable way to election,
Yeah.
and that engaging with the disenfranchised and disengaged is critically important. If we haven't knocked on your door yet, it's because we haven't gotten there yet, but we are literally in the district every single day. And we talk to voters every single day.
And we get supporters every single day. Once they hear about me and meet me.
So with all due respect, genuinely, it is not about bashing her. No, but she was a little nicer to me than that. So
Don't feel bad. She knows who I am. She'd never ever call me Bunny.
So, should we, Deborah, do you want to give so we'll get 1/3 of a legislative up. Well, actually, you're on camera without going through here. Yes.
So I wasn't supposed to do this. I was actually coming to support Rob Long's first legislative update.
Everything worked out.
But since he's not here, I just thought I can talk about some of the wins that Democrats had this year in the Florida House. This is my first term, the second year of my first term, and we're not done with it yet. So it's hard to give a full legislative update because one, just got back just a few days ago from Tallahassee, and two, we are nowhere near being done. We're only halfway done this year because we still have a few other special sessions, probably one on property tax, one on the budget, and definitely one on the redistricting. So we're not done yet. So we can't give a full one. And the bills are still live because until we actually finish, the governor could sign them laws.
Yeah, really doesn't want to. We'll make him turn the other way.
Yeah. So this year, I actually passed 7 bills through the Florida House and 5 passed through the House and the Senate, which is really a big win for Democrats. Yeah. So this year, I had a really big bill that passed, which is a domestic violence bill. I'm not sure if any of you saw or heard about this one, but this one made statewide news. Every single county in our state was really bringing this up. But this is a personal issue for me. This actually has a multi-component bill that does a few things, but it really is victim focused. And I always tell people that if we're going to want victims to become survivors, then survivor stories must lead the way. And I'm a survivor myself. That's actually what brought me to Florida in 2012 with the suitcase to my daughter. So this is a really personal bill for me. And it actually unified the entire Florida legislature. What I'll do is I'm going to tell you what the bill does after I tell you why and how we brought everyone together. This bill on the House floor, when I was presenting it, after it passed through 3 stops, unanimously, by the way, the members all came together and stood with me. And the Speaker of the House actually opened up the floor to expand the debate time. So every member who wanted to speak on domestic violence and why this bill mattered to them or their family, they spoke. And then the Speaker opened up the board, and every single member of the Florida House, Democrat and Republican, signed onto my bill as a co-sponsor.
Wow.
And they call this one of the most unifying moments in our Florida legislature, especially at a time when we're all just so divided. Then it passed unanimously in the Senate. And so this was such a truly impactful moment, especially in my short-lived career. But what this does is actually enhances penalties for repeat offenders of domestic violence. It also, leaving a domestic violence situation is the most dangerous time for a victim. So this actually enhances penalties for offenders who violate their injunctions for protection or restraining order. Because right now it's just a piece of paper, and a piece of paper doesn't shield a bullet. And if you look at when most of the homicides happen in domestic violence, it is when they have active restraining order. This also adds a pilot program for GPS monitoring for abusers who show a clear and convincing evidence to the judge that they're a threat to the victim if they're out on no contact orders or pretrial release, or if they violate an injunction for protection. That's going to really be a big protection for the victim, because then they'll have that extra, they'll know that they're not within 500 feet of them. Right now, they can't see it coming. At least this way, they can have more situational awareness. And the pilot program will be in Pinellas and Pasco County, because we have some counties that don't have any electronic monitoring capabilities at all right now. And so if you have a county like Liberty that's only about 8,000 people who live there, how are we going to expect them to create an entire program for maybe 12 people a year? So we want to create this summer, we're going to create a master plan on how we can implement the GPS monitoring statewide. Right now, it's really expensive to relocate. So this bill also increases the victim relocation allowance for victims, and it gives them more funding to be able to leave and escape a domestic violence situation. This also adds pets, threats of pets and service animals and emotional support animals to the petition for injunctions. Right now, animals are one of the biggest manipulation tools used, and they're usually harmed or killed during a domestic violence situation, or they'll say, if you leave me, I'll kill your dog, and things like that. So we want to make sure that they're in the petition for injunction. And this also asks protections for military families, military protective orders. Domestic violence is pretty prevalent in the military families as well. But the military protective orders are not effective or enforceable off base. And since 80% of military families live off base, there's no tool for them to be protected in civilian life. So this allows the petitioner to bring their military protective order to the courts and use that as evidence to get a civilian one, and also creates a better communication between the civilian and military law enforcement when there's a suspected violation. So this is just my first bill regarding domestic violence. It seems to have overwhelming support. Everyone supports it. It was victim focused. I had victims use their stories to help shape it. And so this is going to be a priority of mine every year, because think about when these laws were created years back, it was by the abusers. And so we need to really be able to restructure these statutes so they're victim focused and written with survivor experiences. And so that's one of my commitments, is to really try to close up every gap in our statutes and make sure we have every tool in our toolbox to make sure domestic violence is handled the way it needs to be, with protecting our victims and survivors and making sure abusers are held accountable, because right now they're manipulating the court system. They're using children as manipulation tools. I mean, the injunction for protections are a joke with enforceability and protections for the victim. So this is going to be something that will help create a better protection for families across Florida. That was my big win of this legislative session. Thank you. I actually requested that I would be there for the signing, because we have victims that actually want to be present when the bill is signed, because they put their heart and soul into this bill with me. So I'm really hoping that we can do this as this is a bipartisan issue. And so I don't think that we need to do anything more, but then just really make sure it's brought into law. Yes.
I'd like to ask about the presence of guns. What?
The presence of guns?
Yeah.
Possession of guns.
During domestic violence? Yeah, that was not on this bill. That was out of the scope of my bill. I also, unfortunately, anything really with restrictions on guns in the state of Florida. But the truth is, but here's the truth. The truth is that even when there's gun laws, when it comes to domestic violence in other states, it's the honor system, because you still need a warrant to go in to see if they actually have any guns in their home. And so those laws don't really come with warrants either, only if you're registered to a gun. And so it's really, if you look at historically, those are not that effective, because they don't really come with warrants to go and search their home to see if there's any guns. So it's really an honor system. And so that's been a big problem too. So even with those laws, they're not as enforceable as you would like them to be. And so that's a nice one if someone's a law-abiding citizen who will have one registered. But, you can get guns different ways. And so, yes.
I'd like to talk about the IED and capacity right now. And that's the bill to require a real ID in order to vote. Not just to register, but to vote. That's going to deny an awful lot of people the right to vote in this state, most of whom probably vote Democrats. And you're part of the legislature that enacted that. What are we doing about that?
Well, if you don't like it, we need to vote in more Democrats.
Yeah.
Right now,
I mean,
yeah.
Okay, What are the Democratic Party doing about that?
Well, I'm not, that's not my role, right? My role is to help make sure that my district and those who I touch are going to be as active in voting as possible. But the Florida Democratic Party and the local DECs and the clubs are responsible for registering to vote and getting people out to vote to make that happen. I will say that this is also when the local communities come in, because the biggest hurdle with that is, let's say you're a senior and you were married 3 times and if you're flagged for not being a citizen in the system, getting those documentations costs money.
Yeah.
So, helping those individuals get access to like their birth certificates and things are something seniors would help. Also, helping create awareness campaigns on college campuses to let them know their student IDs are no longer a form of ID. And so just making sure that people are aware with what the new laws require are something that we really should be doing, is about more of awareness campaign. Yeah. No, we don't. I mean, I passed 5 bills. And so the thing is, like, there's things that we actually do really well, right? And so there's certain things that, unfortunately, with the super minority, it's hard for us to do certain things, but we have stopped bad bills. We have made bad bills less bad. And we brought really good bills forward, right? Another bill I brought forward, for instance, is one about IEPs, which is an individualized education plan. Those are kids with disabilities in school.
Okay.
Well, did you know that sometimes there's service providers who do speech therapy for kids with autism might not be available to do their services for 2 or 3 weeks, and the parents don't even know? And so they're seeing their children regress and they have no idea why. So this requires the school to let the parents know if their kids are not getting their services. That's extremely frustrating for the parents who work with the disabled students. That bill was really challenging. I passed it through all the committees, but it didn't move in the Senate. So I was able to add it to a big education package. And so it still passed, even though it wasn't in the original form that I brought forward. These are bills. A bill that didn't pass, but one that I was trying to work on is a Medicaid dental bill. It passed all 3 committee stops in the House and the House floor. We couldn't get it through the Senate. But this actually, Medicaid kids, it's really hard for them to get an appointment. Sometimes parents have to call for 5 hours just to get an appointment. And so, or if you have a kid with a disability and they have to be sedated for dental work, sometimes you have to drive 2 hours to get to an appointment. And so this would have actually cleaned up the provider database and created better adequacy standards so the parents could actually find dentists for their kids and get their treatment. So Tay Edmonds, he actually passed a bill that expanded dental services for veterans, right? To up to 400% of the poverty level. So even though we're not able to be a supermajority, we're actually doing really important work, bringing forward bills that do help with affordability, that do help with healthcare, that do help with access to things that people really, really need, and focus on back to the basics. And so I don't want everyone to think that we're not able to do anything, but we have passed a lot of good bills in the Florida House and stopped bad things from happening, blocked bad bills, and made some better. And we're bringing money back into the district. I have over $7 million between the House and the Senate in the current budget that I'm bringing back to my district. We have to make sure that it passes, and obviously when we finish the budget process, and then we have to make sure it doesn't get vetoed by the governor. But we're bringing money back to the district. We're passing bills that help people. We've done some really, really strong work up there.
It must be, it's discouraging, but it's, Lori has always said.
But it should be
too.
encouraging.
Yeah.
It's encouraging, because if we're doing this much when we're this small,
Right.
Imagine if we were bigger. And so this should actually be encouragement. And one thing I want you to take away, and then I'll get to the questions, is that when you're out there talking, we should be talking not about what the Republicans are doing wrong, but what the Democrats are doing right. And if you do that, we become the party of hope again, and we give people a reason to vote Democrat. We supported our veterans. We supported our healthcare system. We supported our children in schools. We supported domestic violence victims and survivors. We supported our law enforcement. We supported our fire rescue. We did everything that people across both parties want us to do, and we did that. And so that's what we should be talking about.
Oh, that's a great. Yeah,
focus on those points.
yeah,
Mhm.
The entire Democratic Party.
yes,
Shape.
yes,
We
yeah.
might get our message. across.
yeah, yeah.
And that's what also,
But the way the folks think it.
yeah, and the thing is though, the Democratic Party doesn't reach everyone the same way you guys do. You talk to your friends and neighbors that might not look on social media, they might not check their emails. So also having these conversations through you are one of the biggest ways that we're gonna be able to get that message across. And so, the reason I want to share what like things that I did is I'm a local representative that did things that had bipartisan support. Everything I did had bipartisan support. And that means Republicans and Democrats all agreed on what I tried to do and did and accomplished it. So these are things that will bring people together when we actually have that information. So you could take what I'm telling you today and use that as a starting point, but you can look at, on the Florida House website, see what bills, look at the Democrats, see what bills they passed and use those bills as talking points.
Mhm.
I'm going to go around. Sorry.
Circle back.
Yes.
I wake up every morning with two things. One is winning this election, and two is voter registration.
Yeah.
And it pains me that an elected official, whether it's you or Lois or any elected official, would think that the onus needs to go back to Michael or his group or to us to engage and increase voter registration. I'm sure that I don't know the bounds of your district, but I'm sure that you speaking in your district as well would resonate. We must register more Democratic voters, and we cannot live on our laurels and think that they're just going to show up, because they're not. We all learned that the hard way.
No, I do want to clarify, the state representative makes $29,000 a year, which means I also have a full-time job, which means that I have two full-time jobs and I'm a single mom. I don't have time to set up a table and make sure I'm passing laws and organizing bills so I can make the Democratic Party look good and make sure we're doing things and are moving on the right track. I do over 40 legislative updates within my district and throughout the county every time I'm back, which engages with constituents. I show up, I do constituent work to make them trust a Democrat. So I do the work I need to do. I need the community to also help by getting out to vote. It's hard for a representative who is away a third of the year, to be able to then be responsible for all that too. The Florida Democratic Party and the DEC is really there for voter registration. That's what their tentacles are supposed to go out and reach for.
Sadly, though, as somebody who I'm sure looked at the numbers, that isn't working.
Yeah.
That we are continuing to lose the battle on Democratic voter registration.
Yeah.
Well, we need to get out and more. And I will say that we have to also remember who we're talking to. We're talking to not just Democrats. We tend to message to people who we agree with. We have to message on a broader base.
Absolutely.
And so, I'll give you an example. When we were talking about abortion, I know that women are smart enough. I know doctors are smart enough, but the Jewish faith prioritizes the woman's health over any stage of pregnancy. The biggest argument against abortion was faith. And I came back with my faith-based argument.
Yeah.
And we were able to have different conversations and it resonated with everyone. And so we have to create arguments too that can resonate beyond the Democratic Party, because the truth is the things we're doing resonate beyond the Democratic Party.
June.
Finally.
Thank you.
Where you started, where you came from.
Thank you.
On a totally different subject, but one that's driving me crazy, vaccinations. Our beloved governor pushed with the so-called Medical Freedom Act, which didn't pass, but he said he's coming back in special sessions to see if we can get it done. It may not be your purview right now, but just, other than us writing, and I hope everybody does, because this terrifies me. His proposal is to eliminate the mandate for vaccinations for everyone, all of them, not just me, all of them. What else can we do that, or what do you know about it? At least its chances that it's going to win.
Well, I'm not really sure if we're going to have that special session, because we already are projected to have a bunch of different other ones that we haven't even scheduled yet. So I'm not sure if that's coming back this year. What's interesting, and there's a lot of infighting within the Republican Party. So the Speaker of the House is fighting against the governor.
Yeah.
And so I don't know.
Or,
I don't really know what that means for some of these ideas that are just so micro focused. I think he has a bigger purview on the redistricting, on the property taxes, and then obviously we have to get the budget done. That's our only constitutional duty, actually. And by July 1st, so I don't know if that's going to actually take place. And I would probably say that we have other concerns too that are also at the pipeline. So, yeah, I'm gonna go around and come back to you, okay?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Putting things in there is just absolutely critical. But there was one bill that I caught sight of in the newspaper that I am very focused on. That's increasing the speed limit from 70 to 70 or 80 on interstates.
Yeah.
From a moral point of view, it is the one law that almost everyone violates. And it's unfortunate.
And when they don't I get mad?
And when they don't, and they drive 65 to the left lane, I want to kill them.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
And what happened was that they actually passed a law that made driving slowly in the left lane illegal.
Right.
DeSantis vetoed it, and he was correct to veto it, I think.
Yeah.
Because what you're essentially saying is you have to go faster than the speed limit. You can't have one law that tells people they have to go faster than the speed limit. So he was right to do that, and they're right to raise the speed limit. Where's that going?
I don't think that's moving this year. Yeah.
No, but the problem with that is if they do it to, I figure you get 10 miles grace above it. So if they raise it to 70 or 75, you go 80.
Argument. Oh, if we do this, then this is going to happen.
Parade of horribles. Yeah.
No one's going to drive 90.
A lot of people do 90.
80 all the time.
Yes.
Going 90. If the speed limit is 80, that's going to be doing the limit.
Yeah.
You're right. It's going to get higher. We should make it 90. Anyway.
Yes.
Respectfully, it's not redistricting, it's partisan gerrymandering, which is against our constitution. So here's my question, being somebody in a race that's affected by this, potentially. If this is decided in late April, and my primary is in mid-August, and it's going to be challenged in the courts immediately, because it's facially unconstitutional, but I guess our Supreme Court may not follow our constitution. Devastating to think about it, because we passed an amendment to make partisan gerrymandering unconstitutional. How long is that going to take? I mean, it has to be unconstitutional at some point to tell candidates your district is now 10% of what you thought it was and 90% of someplace you've never stepped foot in. Good luck. Your primary's in 2 weeks.
Do you guys remember what happened after the last census? We had another issue where the congressional maps were changed after there was a bipartisan agreement on what they would look like. So after the census is typically when we redistrict and we draw the lines.
Yeah.
So we actually had a bipartisan agreed map and the governor vetoed it.
That's right. Yeah,
And
made
he
it
actually
worse.
eliminated a few Democratic seats
Yeah.
then. He undermined the maps that were bipartisan supported at that time as well. We're looking at something that I'm concerned about it, tremendously concerned about it, because when things like this happen, you're looking at the elected officials being able to pick their voters, right?
Pick their votes, yeah.
Instead of having the voters pick their electeds, which we should be able to stay within like the premise that these are our actual districts.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people don't want to waste millions of dollars on the redistricting. We don't want to waste $1 million fighting the attorney fees that we're going to have to pay to fight those constitutional issues. The truth of the matter is, we'll see, because
So it may go down. It could go down with infighting among the Republicans. I've heard there's some Republicans who are not in favor of this.
well, if this is truly a map that was handed to us by our president, then you're going to have a support of the legislature, because they do support they do support the Trump administration's
So that's
initiative. So
what's
over the governor.
I
Yeah,
don't know how long it would.
no clue. We're gonna have to see. But the truth of the matter is, one-on-one conversations, most people are indifferent. They're just like, whatever, like, yeah. But when it comes down to actually getting this done, if it's a priority, it's a priority.
I just still after the vote that stops the killing.
Again, you gotta get Democrats elected.
Yeah.
There's some, yeah. So, at the end of the day, what I would love the takeaway for this to be is that we're winning races that we normally wouldn't win.
Yeah.
We're actually if we take our messaging from now until election day, we have a good opportunity to win seats that either are swing seats that are even R plus a few, right?
Mhm.
We do have that ability to do that. The issue is we have to speak in a way that we bring back hope. And right now, a lot of the communities within the party feel marginalized within the Democratic Party. And we are supposed to be the party of the people. We're the party of the people that brings people together, that focuses on what everyone's concerned about: affordability, and affordability. Right now, it's like, these are the three things that people actually want. And affordability covers everything from healthcare to car insurance, to your homeowner's insurance, to the cost of a house, to the groceries. Right. And so,
And the great thing about the word is you have no definition
yeah.
in the evening.
Yeah. And people are feeling crushed right now. They're really being choked financially. And so, we have a big senior population here that are on fixed incomes, that are making really tough choices about rationing medications in their meals. We have kids that are not able to, get the things that they really need and deserve from their parents, because their parents are worried about paying for the roof over their head. And we have, a huge problem here. So the issue is we need to focus on what we're doing, look at what the Democrats have done right, and just focus on the bills that we have done that have actually helped with some of those issues with safety of people, and let people know why Democrats are a good choice. If we only attack people, we're only telling people where to go, and that's not to the Republican Party, but that doesn't mean that they're going to come to us. That could mean that they're going to sit on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And so we have to give them a reason to vote on our ticket. And so, you can reach out to me, Rob Long, who's done some great things. He brought a bill forward that passed this year that I worked with him with about autism, kids with autism. And, I helped him with that bill too. Like, these are things that we're doing right, that show that we're actually talking about the right issues. And so let's focus on those conversations. And when people say, well, the Democrats aren't doing that, we say, yeah, but they did this and that and this and that. And if we had more people in power, we would be able to do this times 2, times 3, times 4. And these are the issues that we all care about.
Mhm.
When's the next
Well-
session?
Well, technically, I'm still in it. I'm still in it. It hasn't ended yet. Last year, the 60 days turned into 105. This year, we're still in it, but I don't know how long it's going to actually last. We'll find out and see, but I'm hoping that we kind of just resolve everything pretty quickly, because at the end of the day, the more time we're spending on this, the less time we're doing what we need to do for our constituents and also getting out the vote. That passed. Yeah, I will say that unofficially, there's supposed to be a lot of money coming into the airport. The infrastructure there needs a lot of support. So apparently there's a lot of funding that's going to come along with the name. But it passed.
The funding, I was going to ask, Lori, the last few years after Biden was elected, she wrote an article, 1/3 of the Florida budget the money coming in was coming in from the federal government.
Yes,
Is that still the case?
yes.
Okay, so Trump hasn't cut that off.
No.
Okay, so.
No, the count, no. So the state, for every dollar spent, about 33 cents is from the federal government for the state dollars, which is about, our budget's about $117 billion. So about a third of those dollars are actually coming from the federal government. And that's, from educational funding, across the board.
But that doesn't depend on the party of the governor.
No.
No, it depends on the number of people in the state. I believe
Yeah.
the formulas relate to population, not.
Yeah, it has nothing, it has nothing to do with who the governor is.
But cutting back on Medicaid, which he did, I think that will affect us.
Well, I will tell you what, we do have to worry about is with SNAP benefits. That's a big conversation and this could affect us tremendously. There's something called error rates. Right now, so right now the SNAP benefits, if you're under 5% error rates, which is whether you're giving out too much money or too little money for whatever reason it might be for each person, the error rate has to stay under 5% and you're not penalized. Right now, we're about 12% on the error rates. We have a very short amount of time, just probably over a year, in order for us to correct those error rates, or we might owe $1 billion towards out of our state budget to pay for SNAP.
Right.
One of the big concerns is, depending on who our leadership is, would we continue to fund the full amount of SNAP benefits, or we make cuts? Because we're not willing to put $1 billion in if we don't fix those error rates.
Right.
So that's another thing that we have to look at, which could be happening. We're working really hard to see if there's any type of technology or what can we do to bring forward to help with that system. Because at the end of the day, I don't think anybody, Republican or Democrat, want that to actually happen and be the reason why we're cut off. So I've had conversations with everyone. We do want a solution to reduce the error rates, but we also don't have $1 billion to just pay to make up and compensate for that. So that's something also in the next year that we're going to have to really be on the lookout for.
What causes the error?
It's a multitude of things. And, we kind of dove into that a little bit, but at the end of the day, mistakes. Yeah, they're just mistakes. And so we really have to fix them.
But that was set up.
I'm sorry?
Fixing anybody who needs benefits.
Well, it could potentially if they're getting them incorrectly.
Fixing errors. I don't think.
Correct. But except it wouldn't. Right. It will fix to give them what they're entitled to actually get. Yeah. Correct. And we all, I think for the most part, we all agree on that.
But that's the hook. Isn't that money recovered? When there's an error rate, it's recovered so that there's an error, but the money is recouped. So if it's recouped, the whole rationale for it is to stop waste. But if it's being recouped, it's not waste, and they put it in so that states get scared about it and then say, well, we're gonna cut back on what we're giving. I think. But also, a lot of the error rates are also if someone's getting too less. So it's not only if they're getting too much, but if they were actually shorted, that also counts.
Little.
Yeah, so that also counts.
Florida, that would be.
The problem. And so the companies who employ full-time workers who qualify for SNAP, like Walmart and Publix, no penalties.
No, and that's been a big issue is, are they double dipping because they get to employ a lot of people at a salary that also requires them to be on government assistance, and then they get a lot of tax incentives for being a big employer. So a lot of people look at that as double dipping.
Yeah.
So no, but at the end of the day, that's a big conversation that, on a state level, we can't really address, but that's more of a federal issue. But those are definitely things that people actually absolutely talk about.
We can't raise state corporate taxes on business.
I think we're actually trying to eliminate them in the House. Business tax. Yeah. Looks like, yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, this was a meeting that had nothing that if you looked at the meeting announcement, no one who was supposed to be here was here, you know, and the people who were here, you know, I'm just very grateful for. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Thank you.
Serendipity. You know. Yeah. Peter.
The gerrymandering, please.
Peter Camacho, if you didn't see them, made these, and if anyone wants them, he's suggesting a $10 donation to the Democratic Party, Delray Beach, but I don't care. If you wanted, I think some of them are great. Okay, well, you come take what you want. Where everyone on your way out, take a view. I mean, this is like really in their faces, you know. Yeah.
That's recycling. All right.
Yeah, but yeah.
That's right.